Hello class, today we're going to be learning about the Civil War. To start off our lesson, we're going to first watch a movie from a popular app that you all know and you can use at home called BrainPop. You have access to this app at home, so you're more than welcome to rewatch this movie at home if you feel you missed something or you'd like a better understanding. I will show you how to get to the app. You could either use the app or you could use the online website at www.brainpop.com. So when you get onto BrainPop, you're going to go and click on the bottom. It's going to say Social Studies. You're going to click on that. You're going to click on Free Movie. And you're going to click on the Civil War. So let's watch this clip to get a basic overview of the Civil War before we begin.
Huh? Hey. Dear Tim and Moby, what happened during the Civil War? From Jen. Well, it all started in 1860 and 1861 when 11 southern states seceded. It means they left the United States to make their own country. They called themselves the Confederate States of America, or the Confederacy. The states that stayed in the U.S. were the Union. Abraham Lincoln was president at the time, and Jefferson Davis became the president of the Confederacy. Davis did not want to go to war, but Lincoln could not allow 11 states to leave the Union because he thought it would set a bad example for the future. Anytime a state didn't like the rules, they would just leave. There were some other important causes as well, like the issue of slavery for one. You can learn more in our Civil War Causes movie. Anyway, the actual fighting between the Union and Confederacy started in April of 1861. The first battle took place at Fort Sumter in South Carolina. The Confederacy wanted to take the Union-held Fort Sumter for its own, since South Carolina was a Confederate state. The fort was successfully taken by the South, and the Civil War began. Every state had to decide which side to join. Border states like Kentucky and Delaware were pro-slavery but anti-secession. In fact, West Virginia was formed after parts of Virginia refused to secede to the Confederacy with the rest of the state. In the end, 24 states stayed with the Union. The Union was ready to fight. People lined up around the block to join the army. Everyone in the North thought the war would be fast and easy. After all, it was 24 states versus 11. Lincoln himself expected it to last only 90 days. The first major battles of the Civil War actually drew spectators. People would have picnics on the hills overlooking the fighting. The North lost a lot of major battles in the beginning. Most historians think that this is because the South had brilliant generals like Robert E. Lee, the commander of all the Confederate armies. One of the biggest early victories for the South was the First Battle of Bull Run, sometimes called the First Battle of Manassas. The Union came up with its answer to Robert E. Lee. Ulysses S. Grant was a talented general for the Union Army who would eventually become its commanding officer. But even as he helped the North to win battles, he oversaw quite a few clashes with major casualties. For instance, in April of 1862, the Battle of Shiloh ended with 24,000 casualties on both sides, including around 3,400 dead. In 1863, in the middle of the war, Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, freeing all slaves held in Confederate-controlled states. Well, slavery was pretty much over in the northern states, but a few of the border states, like Maryland, still held slaves. In fact, the Union Army had formed units of all African-American soldiers by then. Slavery was officially outlawed in all states in 1865 after the Civil War ended. The Battle of Gettysburg in the summer of 1863 was the beginning of the Confederacy's fall. Gettysburg ended with a staggering 51,000 casualties, with about 6,700 people dead. President Lincoln visited the battlefield when it was all over and delivered his famous Gettysburg Address. Yeah, that was a good speech. In November of 1864, Union General William Tecumseh Sherman made a famous march across Confederate Georgia from Atlanta to Savannah. In Sherman's march to the sea, the Union troops devastated the state by burning crops, killing livestock, and wrecking the local infrastructure. By 1865, the Confederacy was exhausted. It had lost a huge percentage of its young men, and its economy was destroyed. The South turned to slaves for the army, promising them freedom in return for fighting. General Lee surrendered to Ulysses S. Grant at Appomattox Courthouse, Virginia, on April 9, 1865. The war was over. Only 5 days later, on April 14, 1865, President Lincoln was assassinated while watching a play in Washington, D.C. His killer was a man named John Wilkes Booth, a Maryland actor who was angry about the South's defeat. So that's the Civil War. By the time it was over, between 600,000 and 700,000 people were dead out of a total of about 3 million combatants. It was America's bloodiest war. By a lot. Yeah. By the way, that Union General Ulysses S. Grant, he went on to become president in 1868. Oh, okay, you can't just take pieces off my board. Do you even know how to play?
So now that we've completed the clip and we have a basic overview of the war, we're going to play a little game. In groups of 3 or 4, you're all going to get an iPad each. You're also going to get a worksheet. We're going to play a scavenger hunt. A scavenger hunt is you have to look around the room and be able to answer the questions on your worksheet. So if you look around the room, there's about 15 QR codes posted around the room. Using the iPad that I have given each group, you're going to use the QR scanning app to scan each QR code. So each of the QR codes that are posted around the room are linked to different websites. Each of these websites will help you answer the questions that are provided for you on the worksheet. Be sure that you all answer your own questions on a separate piece of paper because this will go into your Civil War folder for the unit. However, to make this a true scavenger hunt, not all the QR codes posted around the room are links for your worksheet. Some of the links posted around the room could be various pictures or links to websites that do not have anything to do with the Civil War. This is what truly makes it a scavenger hunt. You have to choose the right codes in order to answer the questions. Another thing, some of the links around the room can answer more than one question on your worksheet, so you may not have to use every single link throughout the room. However, you are required to use at least 5 different links to answer the questions. Be sure to answer your questions in complete sentences in your best handwriting, and be sure to avoid all the plagiarism laws that we have talked about prior to this. And when we're all done, we're going to get back together and we're going to discuss what we have learned and further explain what each thing means. You have about an hour for today, and if you need more time, we can still work on this again tomorrow. Before I send you on your way to begin your scavenger hunt, I'm going to teach you how to use your QR scanner. First thing you're going to have to do is you're going to go into the App Store. If you don't have it already listed on your iPad, if you go into the App Store on either an iOS Apple device or an Android device, and you just type in QR scanner, there should be a numerous number of links that come up. All of these, most of them are free. You can just download any free one and use any of the ones that are provided. They all work for this problem. Once you have downloaded the app, just open it up on your device, and it should look something like this. Make sure the QR code that you do scan has this box. They may look slightly different because there are various versions, but as long as it has a box like this, it should work perfectly. So what you're going to do to scan your QR code is you're going to, whether it be in a digital form or on a piece of paper, I'm going to show you through a digital form. You just hold up your device to the QR code and make sure it's right in between the box. This will scan it, and it will open up to a link, and you just click open. For this example, I chose to link this QR code using qrstuff.com to BrainPop. So here you have access to the video that we just watched. Okay, so now that you know how to use your QR scanner, you now go around the classroom and complete the worksheet. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. After all students finish their scavenger hunt worksheets, it's best to get together as a whole class and discuss everything that they learned. Especially you want to make sure they gather the correct information and clear up any misconceptions that may have been discovered throughout their research. So all in all, this is a great lesson that you could use with your class because it utilizes technology in the classroom in 2 different ways, through both the BrainPop app or website, as well as through using the QR code and the QR scanning app. Using it as a scavenger hunt is a very great way to introduce a lesson because not only do you allow the students to watch a brief overview of the video so they have an idea of what they're about to learn, using the QR scanning app and the different websites allows the students to discover the information on their own, as well as making it a little bit more interactive so it's not so boring for the students. This helps engage the students and keeps them engaged, and it also helps with their reading comprehension and be able to sift through an article and pick out the information that is required for a given assignment. I think the BrainPop app is a great application to use in the classroom because it not only has great videos for basically any topic that you'll be teaching, it also is easily accessible from home, so students are able to review what they're learning in class. And it also has quizzes at the end to help you with quizzes for your classroom, as well as great teaching points and highlights main points of the video. Also, I chose to do a scavenger hunt because it allows students to go around and discover the information on their own. If they're able to discover the information on their own, they're often more likely to either remember it or be more excited to learn about it. If you do have, depending on the class that you have, you could use this technique and make a challenge out of it, so the students are competing against one another to complete a scavenger hunt. You could use worksheets like I chose to use, or you can use something like a poster board they have to make, or they have to gather different facts and put it in a box or something like that. Anything could be used in terms of a scavenger hunt, and a challenge is always intriguing for students, especially in middle school. Lastly, to create your QR code, if you choose to use it in your classroom, I did provide a link. You can go to QRstuff.com and just type in the link that you want your QR to be created and just download the link. Using this type of layout for a lesson is great for any subject. You could use it as a math lesson, a science lesson, or as I chose to use it as a social studies lesson, because in my opinion and in my experience, social studies can sometimes be a boring topic for kids to sit and listen to. So having an interactive game or an interactive way of learning the information is a great way for students to become more engaged and more excited about a topic. Also, providing the links for the students also takes away some of the time that it would take for the students to look through the websites, as well as makes it safer because they do not have to go and look through random websites that may not be appropriate for their age. So that wraps up my lesson for the Civil War. I'd like to thank you for watching my video, and I hope you enjoyed it.